Hey, what's up? I get asked every single day is how are we going to do this? How are we going to afford homes in this market? In Colorado, homes are definitely appreciating. Are they still affordable? And the truth is, when people think about affordability, they think about the wrong things, or they don't think about the whole picture. They're always worried about the home prices and over asking bids and all of this stuff. Absolutely, that factors in. But the truth is that it's a whole ball of wax when you talk about affordability, because you have your income that's obviously variable across the board. You have the interest rates that we cannot control. You have the appreciation, which is where everyone seems to focus. But the word affordable is more personal to me. So we're going to dive into that. So stay tuned. Throughout the show, we're going to talk a lot about different ideas and different situations that you may find yourself in. I'm going to share some graphs from the Ruth team. If you want those, please smash a comment right now. I will definitely share those with you. I will connect with every single comment. I will get these graphs out to you. They'll show exactly what it's going to look like for your principal and interest payment from interest rates and affordability, and a perfect graph showing what that'll look like based on a 5% down payment. If you want a different down payment, we can absolutely do that. Again, just shoot me a comment below and we can dive in. Stay tuned. It's a good one. Hey everybody, Jeremy Kane, eXp Realty here. As always, please smash that subscribe button if you haven't already. Ring that bell. Would love to stay in touch with you, all things Colorado real estate. If you are out of state and have questions, I also can answer those and possibly hook you up with a realtor. I'll make some money. You'll get the best realtor money could find, and we'll take care of business that way. The truth is, the real question is, can you wait to afford a home in Colorado? With prices on the rise and interest rates on the rise and insurance going up because of recent natural issues and things of that nature, can you really wait to lock in your 30-year fixed loan on a home? Will you be able to afford that home in the city and town that you want to be in 1 year? The truth is, we have to look at the numbers, and when we really look at the numbers and dive in, you'll definitely understand what that looks like. But first, let's start talking about the market a little bit. If you have not heard, the market is extremely hot. Homes that are desirable or a little less desirable are still going for over asking. You know, asking price is relative, like we don't control what the asking price is. So to say that homes are going for $100,000 over asking is a little bit offset. But the honest truth is, if a home is priced appropriately, even a little aggressively, it is going for, 10 to 15 to 20 to 25 to 30% over asking price. And when you price a home, you look at the comps and you look at the comparables, you say, okay, what could we get it appraised for? And typically, that's where homes actually are priced by, real estate professionals. There are the offshoots that say, let's price it really low and get a huge bidding war. And there are the people that are like, my home's worth way more than it is. Like, I watched 9 News yesterday and the price is going up. But the honest truth is, correctly priced homes are going for above asking typically, usually multiple offers, and multiple offers kind of bid up the property in their own unique way. So when we're in that situation, we are pushed with a lot of questions. People waiving inspection, people waiving appraisals, people, doing all kinds of things, covering appraisal gaps, whatever that may be. And the truth is that we need to know you and rock solid, understand your situation, what your rules are, hard and fast, and kind of go from there. What I tell people is the list price is not a price tag. We're not at the grocery store here. Obviously, we can't control those price tags anymore either with the inflation and things that we're seeing. But if we have it in our head that we're not going to pay more than list and, we're just not going to do it, probably not the best time for you to jump into the market, whether it's affordable for you or not. Like, we need to kind of work on that. So try and shift from that mindset that the list price is a price tag and hard and fast. And, it's literally a suggestion on where to start. And the honest truth is the value of a home is worth as much as someone else will pay for it in the active market. And so as we kind of push into that, and there's obviously the appraisals and things put in place so that we can't go crazy, but we're kind of getting to that point where people are just going all in. This is a house they love, this is what they want, this is the location they want. They just want to get in so that they have a chance to capitalize on some of the appreciation. So absolutely, the market is very difficult. Does this mean that you can't get into a home? Absolutely not. Let's dive into that piece next. One of the questions we need to look at is, are you in a lease? Obviously, if you're buying your first home, you're in a lease, or you're getting back into a home, whatever that may be, you probably don't have a ton of money just lying around ready to go in. So if you're in a lease, it's definitely a calculation we can make. I'm here to tell you today that it's probably better to start looking sooner rather than later, because if you wait and time it, then you're at the will of whatever the interest rate is at the time, whatever the market is at the time. And usually leases have, a $5,000 lease break or whatever. Some of those leases that make you pay the full lease term, and don't allow you to sublet and things like that, those are kind of away from the norm. But I would tell you right now that if you're in a lease, let's run the numbers. Let's put calculations to it. Is it going to cost you more based on appreciation and predicted interest rates to wait and serve out that lease, or would it be smart to get in now and see if you can sublet or pay the lease term or whatever that may be to get out of that? So that's something we would look at, but that's easy. That's numbers to numbers. We can sit down and calculate it. The honest truth is, when I talk about this affordability piece, you may be willing to be like, okay, let's start looking and let's look at the lease and see what that looks like. But at the end of the day, it sometimes makes sense and it sometimes doesn't. All right, so let's dive into this a little bit. As you can see here, I'm going to share this wonderful graph that was provided by the Ruth team at Fairway. Nicole does an amazing job with talking about the economy and rates, and she put this graph together. And let's say January 1, rates were around 3 3/4 or so. And let's say we're looking at a $350,000 house. Okay, that's a payment, principal and interest only, so don't factor in everything else that could go into this. And this is 5% down deal here, lower down payments at least here. So 1620 for your 3 3/4 interest rate, which is about where it was at that time, give or take. I'm not a mortgage guy, so let's just say hypothetical here. There was a 3.75, which is close, $350,000 house. Well, that $350,000 house, maybe it's gone up $50 to $60 to $75,000. So let's call it $75,000 since then. So right now, if we were shopping at that optimal price, 1620, we still had that 3.75 interest rate. You just lost, approximately from 1620 to 1968. So that is, $360 and some change there. So that's a pretty big increase, and we haven't even factored in the interest rate. So that time from January 1 to where we sit on March 16th today, you've lost approximately $300 and some a month. Okay? Pretty big, right? Have you gotten a wage increase of $300 a month? It's possible if the timing's right. But let's talk about now. We've seen interest rates as high as 4.5 for the best interest rate. So now we've seen a value increase in appreciation of $75,000, obviously hypothetical, and a rate increase of almost 0.75% on your interest rate. And now we're talking about a payment in interest only, $21.53. So we went from $16.20 to $21.53. That's almost $600, right? I'm doing the math on the fly here, but that's a decent amount of money just in 3 months that we have lost. And have we seen some drastic appreciation? Absolutely. Those homes really jumped up in value, 100,000, 20% over like we're talking about. But we've also seen that rate increase. So it's a double whammy. And now we're looking at, okay, does it make sense? Is it affordable? Do I have to wait? But when we step back and think, okay, well, that happened this year. Next year, it's been happening every February, every March, for the last 2 years, we've seen a big jump because, everybody gets kind of burnt out about this time because they're like, oh, I can't find a house, or they get competitive, they can't be homeless. So maybe they have to re-sign that lease and pay 12 months more of rent and do all of that. So now let's say we're 2 years removed, right? And now we're at 425, maybe that 425, let's say we've appreciated, we're only jumping like 50,000 next year at this price point. So now we're at 2406 if the interest rate stays the same. But the shocking number here is, even if the interest rate goes down to the historical low, we're talking about, still a $2,000 payment, which you could get into right now if you time it right with the interest rates going low and things of that nature. So just something to consider when you look at this graph. It's a huge eye opener to see, okay, if we're going one way, the prices jump up a little bit, but if we're going on a diagonal and interest rates as well as price points are increasing, which is kind of what we're hearing is going to happen, then we have a real decision to make and, really factor that into affordability and things of that nature. And so the honest truth is, when talking about affordability and purchasing a home, you have to be strategic. Let's look at your entire situation. Let's sit down, have a conversation. I'll even buy you lunch, and we'll talk about it and be real and connect on that level and talk about, okay, this is what the market is. Let's kind of wrap your head around that. We'll get you in touch with a great lending professional like Nicole or any of the others that I work with. And we'll talk about that and talk about the timing and look at your lease and dive into it. Because when people call me, they're like, okay, I'm ready to buy a home. I want to go look at houses. Let's go. And I'll say, okay, I'll let you look at a couple houses before we talk to lenders and things of that nature. But at that meeting, I sit down with you and say, okay, what's the reality here? And you have to be strategic. You have to know your numbers. You have to know how much it's going to cost to break a lease. You have to understand, if you're in a house and you need to sell that house, what it's going to look like. You have to understand the contingencies and make that plan. Because if you have a house to sell, all bets are off. You're not getting a house under contract typically in a multiple bid situation if you have to sell your house to buy another one. So then we have to work backwards, put your house on the market, negotiate a rent back. But first we have to make sure that your move up home is within your realm. So there's a lot that goes into it. And the honest truth is it can't happen overnight. So we have to sit down and plan and be strategic and know your numbers and know your rules. And these can change as we go, right? I've had a bunch of people say, I don't have any money for an appraisal gap. We look for 3-4 months and all of a sudden they've saved $10,000 because they're doing what we're asking them to do and save that money just in case. Then we have a $10,000 appraisal gap to put in there and things are starting to look up. So it's really about your situation. When you really take a look in the mirror and say, okay, like if I wait, I could be looking at a $700, $800, $900 higher a month mortgage payment, where before I was gonna save on some money, like I was gonna get into a house and buy it and obviously, save a little bit of money on the rent we're paying and things of that nature. Now we're looking at, okay, well now I need to adjust, right? Now I'm above where my rent was, or maybe you got a great rent rate and you're just like, I need to buy a home and start building wealth and things of that nature. You're gonna pay a little more anyways, but now it's $1,000 more. And that's when things start to get sketchy. And your only option at that point is to move to a different area, maybe move more out in the suburbs. Maybe that's not what you want. Do you want to be close to a city? Absolutely. Out in the suburbs, maybe you don't want land, you don't care. So you can move into a little new development in, Deer Trail or somewhere out there where it's a little bit more affordable, but then also you're not capitalizing on appreciation, so on and so forth. So those are just things that you need to consider, but we need to sit down, make your rules, and go from there. And then ultimately, what's the cost of waiting? Are you gonna, graduate college and get a new job? Maybe you're going from a job to a career. If you do have something like that and your ability to pay is going to increase, that's absolutely great. But can you tighten it down for a couple months and maybe put yourself in, a pretty tough situation, right? You're paying more than you want to pay mortgage-wise, but you know that you're getting a degree and you know that you're going to get a job in a certain field, nurses, teachers, things of that nature, steady income, you can get a job. Then we look at kind of the cost efficiency. So if there's something like that, big promotion up, things of that nature, we can kind of talk about that and factor it in. At the end of the day, affordability has a lot more to do with just the home prices, which a lot of people talk about. So if you want to sit down and talk about that, as always, please hit me up. Please give me a comment. What do you think about this? If you would like to look at these graphs, please shoot me a comment and I can send them to you directly. You shoot me a comment and I will absolutely get these to you no matter what. Thanks a lot and have a great day.